quick minute here to get. O'clock. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Warner,
Here.
Clerk Moore here, Treasurer Warner,
Here.
and Trustee White.
Here.
All present.
Approval of the agenda, any additions or deletions?
I need to make an addition.
Okay.
The 2022 tax rate request, which is known as the L44029, was sent to us by the assessor's office. It needs to be signed. It's already filled out, and that's the allocations and operating expenses and so on. Millages that are voted for fire, ambulance, cemetery, and roads here in Briley Township. So the L4029 approval.
Where do you want to place that?
It's got to be in the new business. You can
Yeah.
put it anywhere you like.
I put it at the top of new business.
Okay.
4029. Anything else?
With the water meter, I don't know. After talking with Son and Brian, I need to bring it to maintenance for wells, our wells.
Okay, we can get that while we're talking water.
Yeah.
So we'll just leave right with the water. Think so?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
No.
No?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with addition.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Approval of the meeting minutes from August the 24th.
I will make a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Treasurer's report. Vanessa?
In the general fund, there's $538,307.50. In the water fund is $99,075.74. In the park fund, there's $27.04. In the road fund, there's $269,933.75. And in the cemetery fund, there's $22,512.41.
I make a motion to accept the treasurer report.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Trustee White,
Yes.
Treasurer Warner,
Yes.
Clerk Moore, yes. Supervisor Warner,
Yes.
and passes 4-0.
Okay, I'm down to some bills.
Okay. We're gonna have a change in that number at the bottom.
Okay.
There were some 4 items that came in addition to what we have on here to be paid. Berg assessing at $2,530. Montmorency clerk.
That's what I'm 2,500.
Got it?
Yep. Good.
Montmorency County Clerk, and that was for the August primary costs of materials that were done on our behalf, $92.33. Verizon phone bill, there are 3 of them that we pay, $194.25. And the city of Alpena, $50 for testing the township water. That adds up to $2,866.58 in addition to the $49.05.48, giving you a total of $77.72.06. That's the total on the payables.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
I have a question. What is the $200 to J Street?
Probably his tractor.
I would think that was, we have an agreement to use his mower while ours blew up.
Right. That's what it is. Good?
I think that's what that would be for.
Yeah, it is, it
Yeah.
says rental on it.
We'll see tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So we have Vanessa making a motion. A
One
second.
second.
Okay. And the roll call.
Call vote. Treasurer Werner,
Yes.
Clerk Moore, yes. Supervisor Werner,
Yes.
and
Excuse me.
Trustee Light.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-0.
All right, public comment. Anybody have anything for the board? Mr. Craig Smith?
Yeah, a couple questions referring back to the FOIA on the Zoom meetings. I was wondering how it is that you come upon this ruling that says that you don't have to afford us the FOIA on the Zoom meetings. How did you come across this?
I looked
This
it
is
up.
kind of an obscure rule that unless you were really digging for it, you wouldn't know anything about it.
I was asked the question, and I did the research on it, and that's where I found it.
Who asked you the question?
You did.
No, you come up with this ruling before I ever questioned anything about it.
And not to my knowledge, I didn't.
Sure you did.
Mark, I'm not
I
sure. I
believe
don't know.
Mark Edwards
I was gonna say,
and,
Mark?
I thought it was Mark Edwards and the other
Dan
guy.
Kemp.
Mr. Kemp?
Dan Kemp.
You announced to the public
requested.
that you're no longer gonna afford us the FOIA capabilities on Zoom meetings. And that's when we started questioning you about it.
Well, that was, I think I just handed you the meeting in June 22nd.
I mean, it's all legal and everything, but this is like the last two paragraphs out of 2 pages of an MCL
Right.
where it states that you don't have to afford us the information.
Uh,
And furthermore, you said that you were gonna see about doing it. It reads, before providing enhanced access to a member of the general public body that elects to provide enhanced access shall adopt an enhanced access policy. What have you done to enforce or enact that policy?
Well, nothing to date, Craig, to be honest.
You know,
with you.
it really irks me that you used to sit out here in the gallery and complain about the previous board, about them not being open and transparent. Now you're doing the same damn thing.
I don't see that I am.
Yes, you are.
Oh, well, in June 22nd. and
That's just my opinion.
in
Take it
the
for what
mi-
it's worth.
Okay, in the minutes, it says, motion by Lamore, second by White, to suspend any retention of Briley Township Board meetings on Zoom after this 6/22 meeting, and also suspend any FOIA request the same until Township Board establishes an enhanced access policy. And I named Public Records Act PA 462 of 96 and MCL of 15.441.
Yeah.
And that motion, in fact, was voted upon and carried 4-0. And I think Evelyn is absolutely right, her and Ken both, that Mark Edwards brought it up, and I apologize for saying you did, because I guess you didn't. But I do know that. this
So what
was questioned.
what action is being taken care of, to take care of it?
Nothing is yet.
In all actuality, before that June 22nd meeting is when Mark and Dan brought it up and was questioning it. And that's why it was researched from the point that they asked to this meeting, the meeting in June.
So why hasn't anything been done so that we can FOIA the Zoom meetings?
I don't know, I can't answer.
We'll put it on the next meeting, on the next board meeting, and give you an answer, and that'll be in vote, and it'll be an answer to the question,
All right,
okay?
yep.
Okay. Anything else?
Anybody else? Yeah.
We own the antique shop over here in front of the park, and to the west of our building, there's 4 or 5 arborvitae trees that are growing. They're just kind of junky. They're on the township property. They're probably 2 feet from my building, the base of the trees are. I'd like to paint my building and so that people can see it when they come into the town from the west. Right now, it's kind of obscured. I'd like to have those trees removed so I can paint the building.
Okay. We'll look into that. I know you and I talked, but now the whole board is brought up to speed on it. So we can take a look at it for sure.
Okay.
Do we own the trees or does Mark own them?
He says that, that they're probably township property, but they're,
Yeah, they're,
the township lines, excuse me, not township lines, the property lines down through there are pretty tight, so. I mean,
there's a
they could
stake
be,
a
right?
foot from the a foot from the corner
Yeah.
of my building, and they're on the other side of that stake.
They could be right there. Are they just leafed out at the bottom? I mean, is it something we can trim up, or?
They're probably 15 feet tall, and like, they're an arborvitae, so it's like one giant.
One giant, alright.
It's not just leaf.
Is it a healthy tree or?
Yeah, I'd say they're healthy trees.
It's just like if you're standing on the porch of the coffee shop, I was trying to tell somebody where we were. You can't see our shop from the coffee shop. We've had customers say they couldn't find us because they were coming from Lewiston. They can't even see the building from there. You can't, like, literally, all it is street, you can't see it. And so we would like to be able to paint the building and have maybe Joe Hall do a mural on that side or something to, so that when people are coming into town, they can actually see our shop, cause they can't see it.
How many trees are there?
I think there's four, maybe
I
5, I'm
just,
pretty sure there's 4.
I'm a tree hugger, I hate cutting down a healthy tree. So that's, I understand your point, but.
Alright, well, we'll look at it, I guess, and bring it back at the next meeting, whether we feel as though they need to be trimmed, cut, trimmed at the bottom. When we look at it,
Yeah, we have to look at it, we have to find out whose trees they are, whether they be ours or whether they be Mark and Amy's, and I think that, I don't know whose they are. I wasn't here when they were planted, so I don't know whether it might.
Is that where the old law office was?
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
Yep.
I mean, if they're ours, we could make a decision on what to do with them. If they're yours, you make your own decision.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know.
yeah,
All I can tell you, normally the lot lines in the downtown area are 0 lot, which means your building is the lot line. And I don't know specifically about that one because it also encompasses the park area next to it. So, yeah.
all we can do is take a look at it and we'll go from there.
Go cut them down. It's always easier to ask for forgiveness.
Well, they could be, if they're, in fact, the township's trees or bushes, those things could be maybe dug up and placed elsewhere in the township, if that's possible. I mean, I don't know anything about trees in it.
The junipers, aren't they?
I don't
They
know.
might be.
They're junipers.
I don't know, I haven't seen them.
I'll take a detour home again.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're not terribly attractive.
good.
I don't know what much I can do.
Yep. Anything else?
Oh,
Oh,
Any-
Absolutely.
tell 'em.
Any other comment?
he said he'll take the trees.
Cut the trees down, you guys pull the stumps.
Well, we gotta know if they're ours first.
Well, I'm just telling you, you got.
If we want them out.
Got an option.
Maybe the township wants them up, hide that building.
Okay.
Don't know.
I got it, we'll have an answer.
You got it?
That's
Yeah,
it.
I got it written down, so. All right, anything else? No? All right, moving on. Old business. Employee handbook,
Uh,
we're still waiting on the state to kind of tumble down some new rules.
It's supposed to be coming up in October,
Yeah.
however, the employee handbook has in fact been worked on. Lindsay and Brian sat down one day and worked on that for quite some time. And I think Brian and Lindsay are both happy with what they've come up with, and that's only a question of whatever the state change is,
Okay.
so that's where we are.
All right, well, just keep that one on the agenda until the state decides to Alright, water meter discussion. I think that's Vanessa, if she's up to speaking up.
Well, Aaron came in and did our software, well, kind of software program. It is incredible. I am in love. It is, the readings that it does, how fast it does it, it's great. However, when I was talking to Brian and Son earlier, and even beforehand, the meters that we were thinking of buying, they tried to install some of them, and they had a hard time. There's no shut off, they kept getting error codes. If we just go with the tops that we have right now, it turns it into cellular read, it gets them out of trucks, riding around. The accuracy is unbelievable. So we're gonna be not getting gypped anymore with the water. So just to do those meters and to fix the guts is about $30. Compared to, what was the one number he said? Looks like 170. Brand new meter is 220. They're still making the meters that we have. They're only $70. I told them it's saving us money, so that's probably the best route for right now.
Which is what? The $30?
Just going with the tops.
$30.
Yep. And then the meters that are absolutely not working, we can get the guts for them, and that's $30. And Brian's able to, instead of, like with the new meters, trying to hook them all up and stuff, he's spending an hour, 2 hours, trying to get it working, where this is unplug, screw this in, bolt it up, plug back in, done.
Okay,
So you're saving time on wages too.
yeah, and the accuracy is,
Oh, it's phenomenal. If July, they are throwing a fit because their water's too much, you can actually backtrack it to back in July on such and such date, or even the whole month. Well, we had, this week it was 90 degrees with no rain, and it'll show you the temperature, it'll show you if we had rain or not. They could be water in their yard, or,
So they're very much like the new Pine G
yeah,
meters,
just
'cause they give us all that.
wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
yeah.
My concern and why I was pushing for the new stuff is the stuff that we have right now is 25 years old, 28 years old, and it was the latest, greatest thing when we put it in. And now they have stuff out there that's fully electronic without having moving parts, and I thought that would be the way to go, but
I'm concerned about creating, for lack of a better description, Frankenstein meters where we're putting this part with this part and
Yeah.
new with old, and how long will that last?
And that was my worry too. And I talked to Son, he said that the meters that we have now, Gaylor's even using them. He said they're still making them. The guts, they're still getting made. He's like, I don't see these disappearing at least for 15, 20 years. I told him I'm gonna hang on to his word, so.
I don't know, we figured out before that we could afford to purchase them at this amount,
right.
the new ones, and we had the money to do it, and I just think that rather than piecemeal it, it may be a savings short term, but is it going to be long term? That's a concern for me.
Well, if the old ones have lasted this long and you go through and put all new guts in it, you're saving money, right? And they're gonna last another 25 years?
Yeah.
But you're putting a new,
Hopefully.
different thing on the top, so you've got two different units
Yeah, the
almost.
electronic one, but
Together.
it's made to fit, right?
The reader,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the other one had a spinner on it
right.
that, you know, the flow spun the spinner and then calculated on the little wall meter outside.
Yep.
And the guys went around and checked them and got your number. Well, the new ones are all computerized, and then they're beamed magically to Vanessa's computer, so that she can pick out a day and tell you how much water you used on that day.
Yeah.
But you're putting a new cap onto an old base, and then the same thing, even when you put new guts in it, you're still putting it into an old base. But, I mean,
So you spend,
the other thing was our new ones, yeah, they're on back order.
Yeah,
We can't get them. So if we're gonna move forward, this is option of one, and this is the only one we have.
and with this route, we could probably do all the meters. At least get the reads in.
For the money, but I mean, it's,
Yeah,
and I think still baby steps, you know, you like to see them work for a little while first. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, we had the money for new ones, and man, it'd be the ultimate time to go to the latest, greatest, and now, like I said, you're Frankensteining stuff together to,
future cost.
that's why I'm not a one-man board. Hi.
You know, the other thing we could look at, Ken, is we know that Eagle is going to be putting in a request for Briley Township with regards to a large sum of money to work on the water issues. If we do this as a stopgap, and they are accurate, and they are working, and there's no issues with them now, if that goes through, it could probably be put into that grant. If it's put into that grant, the state would pay for all this instead of us. So the bigger money would come there as opposed to here.
So you're thinking of not doing anything right now?
No, I'm thinking of doing a $30 fix-it,
Doing a
make
30,
everything
yeah.
work for the moment. And then, if we can get that into the grant that Eagle is
Get it
working
into the
on
grant?
for us, that would be our best.
How long
$40.
before that grant?
I didn't talk to them.
It sounded like it's possible 2 years out. I mean, they're working on it right now, I guess, there may be a 2-year outlook.
So what would we be losing in 2 years and not having accurate water bills?
A lot more employee cost to be out reading meters, gasoline,
Well, and
or diesel.
we can keep it to the, I've lost words. The base rate of what we have right now, so that you wouldn't have to send the men out to read them all the time. But, yeah, it wouldn't be. What do you think about a partial? I mean, if we,
Can I do half of them, quarter of them?
yeah, I mean, throw a even half. That would get everybody's feet wet on how they're gonna be running and how it's gonna come through on your office, on your end. And,
And even with the tops, customers still have access. They, almost like your electric bill, they can go onto this website or app and they can monitor their water.
So would you wanna start with the higher users, the ones who have the highest usage, so that at least you're getting an accurate reading on?
Probably your best.
You could do that, but here again, we know we've already had an issue with water in one basement. It took 3 days to even find the leak, okay? And that was 3 days, a lot of water was running and caused a problem. Not that it was ours, it wasn't our issue, but the whole thing comes to this system will track
right,
leaks. It tracks everything. So you know exactly where the leak is instead of guessing where it is, since it's all underground, so.
but it would be a hit and miss. I mean, if you did a partial, or if you did the majority of them being businesses, high water usage, and then, you know, like I said, even if you did 30 of your residents, there's gonna be somebody that has the possibility of having a leak and he ain't gonna catch it. I mean, it's just one of them. But yeah, it's,
What are you looking at, say 150 times 30, so $4,500?
be close to doing them all,
That would do them all. Right in that range.
Just about.
yeah.
I was handed this 2 days ago, I haven't been able, I
Oh.
pushed it aside.
I understand, but you know that the system works, everything is accurate, you stated that. You stated these will work on these meters.
They're
And you said-
tamper proof, so if anyone tries to do anything with them, it'll send an alert.
Okay. That's a lot of security for the township and for the system. I think it's a good thing to do them all and know where leaks are if they do occur. They could be under a roadway, no one would see them.
I mean, I can get a better number by next meeting, or more.
That's up to the board.
Mhm.
I mean, if it's $30, I mean, I've got no issues with it at all.
That's the guts, and then,
It's
Yeah.
more than $30.
Right.
yeah, that's just the guts.
That's just a replacement.
The internal.
Looks like-
70 is
Yeah.
100, cause it's 70 for the top
No,
and
the
30.
70 has the guts included. That's what Son just told me right before the meeting.
So you get a new top to the meter, and you get a replacement parts.
Mhm.
So you can rebuild the old meter up to today's standards.
What, $70, that's a different story, I'm doing them all.
That's 10.5.
That's a chunk of change, but you got the winter coming up for freezes and all kinds of
Yeah.
issues that could occur.
But the 10.5 is still more than half less than what we talked about for
I s-
replacing all.
I still would like to get our feet wet, and, you know, whether you did half or a third, or, I mean, just put a number on it, and let's check it out, maybe in 2 months before winter sets in, we'll go, oh yeah, this is great, let's do them all, finish doing them,
Right.
is to jump in right now.
Yeah, the good thing, yeah, half is not a bad thing, I have no issue with that. I think it's a good test.
Yeah.
It's a good test, and if it does work, then we can commit to the other half, make sure that Eagle has
Yeah.
something into the grant, even if we don't utilize the money specifically for that. It can be applied to something
Right,
that pertains to
yep,
it.
I think so.
So,
I think that almost sounded like a motion.
It did, didn't
It was a what, rather lengthy one.
It
but-
was, yeah. Well,
Cause I'd second it, I'd second half,
Half of it?
half of it, you got a dollar amount?
Nope.
do you wanna wait until the next meeting before you have the dollar amount we vote on?
I would feel more comfortable, cause I don't wanna just throw a random number and then have to come back and be like, it was more
But
money.
we had a number for new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 10 and the software and training,
Do you remember what that number was?
there's a 6 poking out at me, 6,000. So I think it was more than that though, 6,000.
Let's wait till the next meeting.
Yucky, yucky, yucky.
Okay,
Because we're guessing,
All right.
throwing numbers around now, and it's best to wait and have a number
yep,
Mhm.
and then vote on it.
Please.
okay.
Is
I
that-
was just bringing your attention though, oh, and water. They also brought up that there is a maintenance crew that or getting a maintenance crew, we should need to look into it, is for preventative maintenance. We have 2 wells, it would be $350 per well once a year. They change your oil, they check your gears, they do a full inspection on it. They keep track of everything.
Is it renewable per year? Is that what it is, or you have to do a max or a minimum number of years?
We didn't say that.
I don't see that that's a bad thing until we get Eagle, and know where we're going with that.
But first, it would be, I told Son I'd let him know, but there's a gentleman that would come out and inspect everything, but I don't know how much that would be. He couldn't give me a price.
Okay, so again, we're back to not knowing.
No,
But he said he would get me a number and I could bring that back.
Okay, we'll table it.
We're just bringing
That's
it.
real good. And maintenance.
for maintenance.
Bringing it to your attention.
And I also got a letter the other day that, and I don't know, maybe somebody else can help me with it. Maybe Craig or Mary or somebody, along the same line with the maintenance of the wells and things. Whether we're lacking or whatever, or it's time to do it again. Do you remember a discussion that was held here? And I would say just a few years ago,
Yeah,
and
but I don't remember how many years ago.
and I'm gonna throw out a number like $3,500 or whatever for well maintenance, because they had to like
Yeah.
remove the roof off the well house and pull the well and do all this other stuff.
Yeah, they put in
Anybody?
a bypass system on it, and they had to replace some of the valves in there.
Yes.
I don't remember them having to pull the roof off to do it.
Okay, but it was all at the well house. It was
Yes,
some bypass valves.
yeah, it was after
Yeah.
Rick and I went up there and ventured into it, and then we seen the leaks and stuff,
You
and
know
we
what
started
year that
asking about
was?
that.
You know what year that was?
I know.
4 years.
4 years, 5 years?
Maybe 4 years ago, wouldn't have been 5 years ago, I was still in Hillman.
4 years ago?
And Rick was only on the board for less than a year, so I
Yeah,
think he's
4
right,
years
it
ago.
was 4
Yeah.
years
4 years,
ago.
4 years ago?
Yep.
Would you call that maintenance that you guys were doing up there? When you found water leaks?
When we were looking at it, we were looking to see if they were doing any preventative maintenance. And I was on a wellhead committee, which I don't know who's on it now, but they should be looking into it themselves.
Right.
Maybe Phil could tell us that, cause he's on the, liaison as the, planning commission,
On
right?
the planning commission,
And they're
Yes.
the ones that assign the duty to the wellhead committee.
as the water committee,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep,
So who's on the wellhead
actually, I think you are.
committee? Ken, don't mess with me, I know where you live.
So, anyhow, I mean, I got a little note, that it's time for us to, look into the maintenance again.
well,
on
should
some
look
of
at whether or not they have any kind of a preventive maintenance schedule that they do up there.
Well, and that's what this other company is.
Well, why are we gonna
you know,
pay another company when that's when the DPW people are getting paid for?
Well, it sounds like this other company does more than, they're talking about sending scopes down the well head and everything else, so, I mean,
Okay.
that's something that we're not gonna do. You know, according to, Son, which is our head guy right now, and then he's out of Gaylord, you know, and what they're doing over in Gaylord is they, I don't know, they must shut the well down, pull the pump out of it, and then they put all new oil in the pump, and they send a scope down the well to make sure that, you know, you're not getting, you know,
Right,
anything down there.
Watch your bearings, check your bearings, make sure
Yeah.
there's no wiggles.
You know, so, I mean, it's over and above what you'd expect our guys to do.
Yeah.
So-
It's specialized, and what I would look at would be the $350 that Vanessa just spoke about, plus the labor that would be involved in it. That's
Yeah.
very inexpensive.
Well, and she mentioned that the first time that you call this company over here, they need to come through and learn the system, so it's gonna be a little more than just that, $350 a year or whatever, so.
So let's wait
We need
again
to-
until we get the numbers.
Again, we need Vanessa to get some numbers together.
I'm just bringing it to your attention, so there's no surprises.
And then I'll look to see if Evelyn's on the committee.
Okay.
All right?
You betcha.
Okay, and we've been kicking this one down the road, the DPW after hours phone. And, I think Lindsay was still looking into it, now that we have our new phone system, whether or not, if anybody calls into the DPW, if it could be forwarded to his phone or somebody's phone, if there's an emergency after hours. And Lindsay's not here, so I don't know anything.
I haven't been involved in it after the last meeting that we had.
She hasn't
Lindsay,
found nothing yet.
I was just gonna say, I think we just,
I think.
it was
I thought we had
so easy to get the little pager and just
Yeah, wasn't it though?
get a hospital.
I think we have a problem there, because irrespective of what we do, unless we get something like a track phone, something very inexpensive,
Yeah.
it's it's not much of a charge for an emergency. And that's it's not gonna be used
Yeah.
that much, so unless you're using it, you're
Well-
not paying for the money.
It needs to be, you know, if somebody has an issue, it needs to come to the office,
Yes.
and then it needs to be forwarded to him on, maybe on his own phone,
That's, I
Or-
just was working with
or-
them before this meeting.
whatever, and, but his phone, or a phone, or some phone, or,
The,
And
the two issues are, cause I just before this meeting was looking at his phone.
Yeah.
And I think that the issues are making sure that the new phone system can be forwarded.
be forwarded.
As long as it can be forwarded, I have all the information on his phone, and I think I can set it up to accept those calls.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Alright,
so that's all we're waiting on, is to find
okay,
that out.
to see if, alright. Okay. Anything else on that one? No? Okay, still on old business, a little downtown discussion? I don't know if anybody is found out anything, researched anything on,
Well, there's a couple of things unless somebody, you guys have any information
you guys
that
got?
you'd like to discuss for downtown beautification that we didn't cover last week or last 2 weeks ago?
Last meeting?
Okay. I can tell you one of the things I saw, which I decided that was gonna be a good idea to make a call, but maybe we don't want to. One of the things I saw Alpena come up with recently was asphalt for sidewalks instead of cement. They're starting to use asphalt,
Are they?
yes.
I seen, last time Chris and I were there, those sidewalks have always been there. I never knew that until you
It
got
asphalt.
bright black sitting there, but
Yep. How did you feel about it? You saw them.
What walks are they redoing?
All the walks that are on the north side of the 32, from, as far as I can tell, from the light there at Bagley coming back,
like past Don's tractor.
yeah, down through that area. There's a swamp there that stopped it,
Okay.
and they didn't go any further than that road.
Alright.
sidewalks there?
That's
Yeah.
pretty expensive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I go that way all the time.
yeah, I wonder what it was, well,
It's
I think
probably a
the
half a
thought
mile
process,
section.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
think the thought process on that was to extend the bike path.
I was gonna say, I wonder if
For
it's a walking
bikes.
trail.
walking bike path
That in
trail.
fact is being used as a sidewalk,
Right.
and it could have been used also as a bike trail.
Right,
Yeah.
so I think that's what it is to
Right.
encourage
Yeah,
Okay. Now,
that travel.
the issue here is, we're looking at a downtown area
Mhm,
with a different look and a feel to it than asphalt.
mhm.
While it probably, I'm sure it'd be less expensive to put in, would the look be proper for our downtown? Number one, the cost wouldn't be bad at all, that's for sure.
Asphalt sidewalks downtown,
Yeah, that's what
like
I'm
in front of the
asking.
stores,
Pardon?
in front of the stores.
Well, yeah, that's why I sort of thought not, but you know, if you look at it let's say we look further than that, and we look from, say, the coffee shop, for example.
Baker Road,
The coffee shop, going down and around the curve, to allow people to walk away from the road instead of at the road or on the road.
Like to the
And also
courthouse.
use it for a bike trail to get to the same
Courthouse.
directions.
You'd have to build that up a lot, cause that's quite the,
Yeah,
or just let it go over there, let it go down around the bottom and come
oh,
back up around top, and, I mean, nothing says you gotta
be
put it
flat.
on the side or put
Oh,
it flat, or,
man.
I mean, just put a big turn in somewhere and get it off the
little
road.
Timmy learning his bike, huh?
Well, you know, you also gotta think of skateboarders, you know, be an ideal spot.
And we might be able to look at it going further out to the east as well, at least down to the post office. And maybe all the way down Fort Susan's to Jerome. As being asphalt. Very inexpensive, but you could ride a bike down through there as opposed to on the road, which is not safe at all.
Yeah, but then
So
you
you're
want,
looking at maybe widening the,
but if you wanna set benches out and planters and stuff, you get a real hot day and asphalt gets soft.
It does, yeah.
So then you're gonna have people sitting down and sinking, I mean.
Well, I just wanted to run it
Yeah.
by the people here at the meeting and the people on the video. So we could look at it and maybe call Alpena and see what their thinking was and why they did it and what the purpose of using asphalt was, other than cost.
I'm 90% sure I read an article that it was to encourage the bike paths.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, you live over there 50% of the time, so
Yeah.
you might have read that.
And I would be willing to bet that the path over there is wider than the sidewalk.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I've seen it, and I mean, I liked it, but I didn't
Cause I
see it far
can't see them doing
downtown.
asphalt that narrow.
You still have maintenance on blacktop too,
Yes, you do.
yeah.
more so than
More
concrete.
so, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things about the concrete, and our sidewalks show it, is through the years, we've had to go break out a square and do work on the water main or on something, and then now you can replace a square, and it really don't look out of place that much, because, well, it's a square. I mean, it's,
Now you do that
if
on
you're gonna
asphalt.
do that on asphalt, you know, it's, but it's something to look at for sure,
Yeah, well, if we're gonna do, we need to do something.
you know, we,
What if you do the downtown proper in concrete and then do the extensions out like you were talking about in asphalt? Where you still have
because
your
there
downtown
is, I mean,
town.
I know the road commission, they, like when they did Gerber Road and things, they put it in there a little wider, and they don't call it a bike path, they don't call it a walking path, it's a paved shoulder for the road commission, because they don't want to take the liability that now we're calling it a bike path, and if somebody gets hurt riding a bike on that path, there's no liability, because all it is a paved shoulder. So, you know, if you did the same thing and did a nice wide pathway and, or sidewalk or whatever, you could call it whatever.
Super
It
shoulder.
could, well, yeah, keep it off the shoulder a little bit, call it whatever, but, I mean, the road commission is looking into it all the time of making the shoulder wider for that reason, without calling it that.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's an asphalt, and that would be one of the other things that I guess about the asphalt. I think the asphalt might take the salt that our guys put down a little better than the concrete. The concrete don't like that salt.
No.
And that was one of the things that I was gonna look into before this winter, was if we could come up with something different besides salt.
Okay.
Because it just, you either need to put it down, let it do its job, and then sweep it off,
Right.
or something, you just, the concrete don't like salt.
Okay, sweet. All right. The other thing is maybe use cement coming out until you get to the last couple of feet, and then do the bricks down through there, so you have access for underground utilities.
Yeah, yep.
It still look nice.
And Cummins, I stopped at Cummins the other day, I thought I took a picture, and it didn't turn out apparently, but, they did the fake little brick in the cement, and then did the brick alongside their, I don't know what you call that,
Stamped.
stamped?
Mhm.
I was gonna call it embossed, but stamped concrete with the brick, and then they did brick. So I mean, it looks like it's brick,
That's it.
but it's concrete and brick. And it probably holds up a little bit better than, I'm not sure on how the brick would hold up to the maintenance program of, the tractor running across it,
Yeah,
scraping the
and
snow
a
off.
blade and all that stuff, yeah. That could be an issue.
I've seen them bricks over in Traverse City at the intersections where they brick them, and they don't seem to hold up very well.
No.
But yeah, so yeah, we need some conversation on
Yeah.
what we'd like to do and what we can't do, and
Any other ideas from anyone about downtown?
some fancy light posts.
I vote
Get rid
yes.
of the light poles.
Oh no, the
Telephone
fancy ones.
poles.
Yeah, the
Little
telephone
fish,
poles, get some,
deer on 'em.
Where do we stand with, the wedge?
The wedge is out of bankruptcy. The court, the bankruptcy court, said they did not have enough asset value that they could recover from the building and property, even if it was sold, to guarantee that it would pay the debt that was owed. So they dismissed the bankruptcy. What that means, I'm not sure as far as whether Mr. Fazekas could sell that property. I don't know the answer. My assumption would be yes, he could, but the monies wouldn't go to him, it would go to the bankruptcy in order to pay some of the debt. You can't just
So in the
dismiss
meantime,
debt.
we're gonna put in nice sidewalks or lamps, and we've got that entire strip of buildings that.
We don't control the land sale. If you wanted to buy one of the buildings and knock it down and turn it into a parking lot,
Wait,
you're
wait,
welcome to do
so
it.
there's no enforcement for like the broken down fence and the yard that's all
Yes.
weedy up to
Yes,
here?
they are. That's
Yeah.
considered blight, and that can be under our control at this point, and he has to clean it up, absolutely.
Should
So
we put
if
the
the
pressure
blight
on
officer,
when we do something?
that's, we could ask the blight officer to enforce that and have him clean the property up.
Either that or the township could take it over under condemnation.
Yeah, why not?
we don't want that.
You do, even if you
Well, why not? You're
condemn it-
building up a land bank, right?
Okay, and I tried to have that done on a few properties here in town because they are in bad shape. The building inspector who would have to do that was willing to do it, but what that means is all you can do is put boards up. That'll make it look worse than it currently does. You can't go on the property and disturb the property in any way if you do that. But a white officer can in fact do it. They can enforce whatever they need to make it look better.
Well, if you file for condemnation and you get title to the property, you can do whatever you want.
That's true if we can get it condemned, if it is
Yeah.
condemnable. The other way would be that we would, what's the name of that process? Yeah, eminent domain, that we take it over, but we have no, I don't think we would want to do that because now it would be in our situation where we would have to fix that property up and make it available for use. as
Well, that'd be no
township.
different than taking over the bridge down there. You guys took the bridge.
Yes.
And that was a liability too.
It was, but it was a necessary evil in order to allow to walk across or motor,
Traffic.
Yeah.
traffic, be it pedestrian or motorized, one or the other, to cross here. Otherwise, it was a bad situation with a 90-degree angle across the road for an ATV or a snowmobile. So it had to be done. Been there for a lot of years.
Is there anything being done to repair it?
I can't answer that. Do you know the answer?
I've looked at it. It's actually not the bridge itself is solid.
The footings are shot though. They're washing away underneath.
I didn't see any footing at all, was what I seen.
There's a concrete slab down there with all the gravel and stuff washed out from underneath it.
Didn't see no concrete slab. It's sitting on the bank,
Yeah.
sitting on the river bank, and the river bank is giving way, and it's just.
Which
oozing
side
in.
did you look from?
Well, I went over to the other side and looked back this way, and, but, yeah. There is a concrete embankment on the far side,
Yeah.
but I didn't see anything on this side. But, yeah. We did do a little maintenance down that way the other day, though. The guys went down, mowed around it, and tried to make it pretty.
Dave Guest talked about looking into a new bridge.
Yeah, we did. We looked to see, you know, if we could get maybe Moran Ironworks or
That's what
something.
he talked about going to.
Kinda, you know, build us a little something, you know. And I don't know where he ended up with it. You know, I think it just kinda
he's
fell
been
by
out
the
there.
wayside a little bit. I think his days got pretty busy there last
That's
year.
what he said.
But yeah,
We have to look at that bridge.
Yep. And I think it'd be a simple thing is to lift it and throw a little concrete underneath it and reshape it a little bit, be done. Less than $500,000, I'm sure.
Yeah, by the time you bring a crane in there to lift it.
Don't need no crane. Okay, anything else? All right. New business. First thing I got on my new business is the L4029.
Okay, the L429, I gotta get this out to read.
Is it L4 or 40?
4029.
Okay, 40, all right.
Yep, dash 4029. This is something that comes out every year. This is actually produced by two people, or two groups, one being our assessor's office and the other one being our courthouse. Our job is to look it over and verify that in fact their numbers are right. What I have a problem with, but unfortunately it's true, is the allocation for the operating expenses. When it first came out for the township, the operating expense was 1% or 1 mil, which was good. But now this thing called Headley has reduced it on an annualized basis. Now that 1 mil is down to 0.9073. I think we're okay for right now on that number. I don't think we're having any problems with what's coming into our coffers on the tax side. Fire's gonna be doing their own thing. They're at 0.9807 this year. And the ambulance is 0.9807. And cemetery is at 0.2451. And the roads is at 0.9807, which is again the same thing, the 1 mil. And all of them have Headley applied to them, every one of them. There's no way to get out of that, we're stuck with it. It was voted in by the people. So that's where we are, and that's what the assessments will be for the upcoming year. So we've got those. This has to be in by the end of this month. And I think the only time we can pass it is pretty much now. There's no way we can change it, so it is what it is.
Can I see that?
Sure. You'll see a diminished thing if you go to the next page. You'll see the diminished numbers from last year, which were 21. You'll see those numbers were higher. Not by a whole lot. It doesn't change that much, not dramatically, but it is diminished.
And that's the Headley rollback?
Yep.
Is the operating, it's just township, it doesn't have to do with the county?
No, this is township.
Oh, just township?
Yep.
That list looks a lot smaller than what was on my text.
Yeah, I know.
It looks like there's a few things missing.
That's what the assessor says to us, and that's what we have to go by, is what his report is, and the county goes with it, and as does the state. So this is not done by us, it's done by others. The numbers are applied to this, and that's what we go by.
No, I get that, but it's a bit smaller.
Yeah. So, any other discussion on this?
I don't.
I'd like to make a motion then that we agree with and sign the document.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Actually, you gotta have a roll call vote, guys.
Do you? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Roll
We're
call.
talking tax millage. Supervisor Werner,
Yes.
Clerk Lamore, yes. Okay. Treasurer Werner
Yes.
and Trustee White.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0 to approve. Okay.
Next new business is a marijuana license application.
someone here in town that asked for papers, so we'll see what happens. There in fact is a corporation that is currently doing business in Calcasta and other places. That's applied for a license here. By law, we have to accept that. We don't, from this point, it goes to the state of Michigan. The state of Michigan will determine if they have everything in order. They will issue a permit number. They will sign off on it. The next signature has to be reviewed by the Montmorency County Sheriff's Department. As of, looks like 9/13/22, Chad's, the sheriff, signed off on this document for the Sheriff's Department. And the next one goes to the Briley Township for approval or denial. That's all we can do with this. We have to go with the state because they are in fact a legal and viable company that does other businesses, and the state's approved them for quite some time now. So everything's in order, and that's where we are on it. They've already given us their $5,000 check, which they cannot get back. That's a non-refundable check. So we have our first application for a shop.
It's going in where Bob's gun shop, is that right?
It's going where the old gun shop was, yes.
Yeah.
And they have already started work on it, as I'm sure you said.
Yep. So
we'll see
we're gonna allow it right on Main Street then?
Well, it's commercial property, and that's what the ordinance says. It has to be a
Yeah.
commercial property, which is C1 or C2. That is a C1 property.
And they're 300 feet or more away from the
It's,
park line?
It's 300, well, one of them measured at 358, and the other one measured it at 360.
They've
So
already
it's-
been given the permit though, right, to go ahead with it?
They legally have been given a go-ahead by us to send it to the state. The state will rule on it, and the state will make a decision on whether they can have one or not. Then we sign off on it, or don't.
But we've already given them a permit.
We have to, by law, accept their application. That's what they've done so far.
It's an application.
Permit is issued by the state.
Yeah, you're not answering my question. You've already issued a permit to
A
them, right?
permit for what?
No.
We don't have a permit.
Well, according to
issue.
Dave Guess, he's already signed off on the permit.
He
No,
has,
the zoning
he has signed
permit.
off on the zoning to say
Yes, zoning.
it's okay to zone it there.
Okay.
So he's done that. The sheriff has signed off on it, that he has no issue with it. And the state has to issue the permit. We do not have anything to do with that. And then the township will vote on it to approve or deny.
Oh, so we don't vote on it now, we wait?
We have to wait until we get the documents back from the state to say they have a permit number. Once they get the permit number, we can vote to put it in. So, yeah.
Or tonight,
Hmm?
or tonight.
Yes.
Hello?
Okay, good, thank you, good morning, good afternoon. You say you're not gonna, you don't, the township does not vote on it until after the permit is issued by the state, correct?
Yes.
They issue the permit, then the township votes on it. What vote would there be after there's been a permit issued? Why
Well,
would you
The only thing we
have to
do is,
vote on it?
the only thing we do at that point is approve or deny. And I don't see any reason to deny, because if everything is ordered properly by the state, and they say it's in order, we don't have a choice but to let them in.
Okay, okay, and that's because it's a viable, legal business, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. That's all we got for that.
Okay, you look at that?
So that's just for right now.
That's a FYI?
Yeah, it's for information, because there's nothing we can do until the state signs off on it. They have rights to go in and modify the building any way they choose to, as long as it's within state compliance, and there's a lot of things to do on the state compliance. Tons of cameras and all kinds of things. Once that all gets looked at, we say yes, it's set up properly, then it's good to go.
Now, does the sheriff come back in and look at the building once they get all their,
They can ask him to, yeah,
Okay.
look at the security system,
Look
I'm
at the
sure.
security system.
And I'm sure he would like to see it,
yeah?
because it's all gonna be tied right straight
Right,
to
it all
the sheriff's
ties
department,
back
yeah.
to them anyway, so.
They'll be able to see and do
And the
whatever
state would
necessary.
have to inspect and make sure that they have met, right?
Yeah, yep. I think so. I don't think there's a whole lot for the township to do except just,
Although after they're open, the sheriff or the township board, any one of us or any of us as a group, have the right to go in at any given time and inspect it.
you know. Okay.
This is some
I'm
in-depth
good with
stuff
that.
here.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
With their
Yes, sir.
favorite color.
Moving on, I got a little park report, real quick. The builder's been down there, they're putting things together, the plumber's done the plumbing, the electrical been done, all except for once the walls get, drywalled and stuff, they gotta come back, put all the, so the rough in stuff's all been done, finished stuff is coming, and that's what they're doing down there right now, for the bathrooms. Hopefully in a little while, we get some more sidewalk done. It looks kind of funny now, the doors are about that high from the ground. They are gonna build up the sidewalk to where it comes up flush.
Okay.
One thing that we forgot, and I don't know if I overlooked it, or I don't know how we did it. I sat down with a builder when we put bids out, and we talked about the outside, we talked about what needed to be inside, the electrical, the plumbing, the everything, and we forgot to add the roof. Mr. Fisher was gonna get me a price for, just a 30-year shingle, to stick with what's kinda there, and, so we need to add the roof to the price of everything else on top of.
Got a projected number yet? You didn't go back to you?
No,
How many square shingle would it be?
it's not much, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, and then it's an easy roof, I mean, it's just
Can't,
I mean,
can't be
no-
more than what, 2 square?
yeah, and no valleys, no this, no that, I mean, it's a. There will be some skylights, you know, we gotta put the solar tubes in it, and that's kinda what brought his attention to it, was, you know, putting these new solar tubes and stuff in there, and, around all these old shingles, and he's like, was there supposed to be a roof on?
Oops.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to, didn't you have that in your bid?
Okay.
So anyhow,
Okay.
just kinda spaced out on that one a little bit.
Well, you and I talked a little bit about utilizing steel on the side as well.
Yeah,
Uh, There's some stuff out there we talked about that looks just like log, except it's steel.
yeah,
And probably wouldn't have much maintenance on that or metal roof. If we put that around there, if we paint it right now, it would be fine, I'm sure, because the
Yeah.
boards and everything in good shape. But if we decide to put a steel roof on it,
The, what did we talk about, the way the solar tubes are coming up through the roof or whatever, and the ribs and everything else, it'd just be easier to do the shingle right now, and just, I'm like, yeah, since we kinda forgot about it, let's just do the easy, cheap stuff, and,
okay.
what,
We got a solar tube on our mill roof.
Ian? So I was just, I feel bad since I forgot about it, I just figured,
Cost savings.
as cheap as we can, as easy as we can for everybody, and just,
Cheap, easy, and quick.
yeah,
Yeah, let's get this thing done.
let's get her done. Okay?
Okay.
Alright. The next thing on my new business is trustee Banks. Brittany Banks gave us a letter to resign. I think everybody's got a copy of it. I think we need to vote to accept. I think.
Yeah.
You wanna discuss this at all, or just?
Well, we could discuss it, I don't know what's to discuss, I mean, we could vote no, not to accept it,
Can't force her to do it, if she
you
doesn't want
know,
to.
I think you're almost to the voting yes part, and she's not here tonight in the audience or here at the table, so I believe she is serious about it.
Okay. So if we accept it, then we have a second motion to make, and that's in setting up an ad and so on and so forth that needs to be done to find another trustee. So,
I think you're correct.
How do you get another trustee?
Need letters of interest,
Letters of interest.
and application, so we can check.
yeah.
We're looking for somebody that really has the best interest of Briley Township, obviously. That's critical to what we do here. Being able to work with other board members and the citizens of the township. All those things are really, really important. That's not a lot, but it is. I think the best thing we could do is to accept this, because it was done, there's been discussion I've heard on the outside about this, and it's best that it's nice and clean and done, and that we start looking for a second for a new person. So,
She's made it clear for quite some time that she was contemplating this, and
Right.
so for her to complete, I make a motion that we accept this letter of resignation.
okay, that'd be a- I'll second that motion. Okay,
You'll be posting what your requirements and stuff.
we will. And that we have to vote on, so we'll be up to that point in just a moment.
Hang on, baby steps here, girl.
Yeah, so the motion's been made and seconded.
Motion been made and
Do a
seconded.
Roll call vote.
Roll call, please.
Yep. Trustee White,
Yes.
Clerk Lamore, yes. Supervisor Warner,
Yes.
and Treasurer Warner.
Yes.
Vote is 4-0 to accept.
Okay,
The next motion on this will have to be to post the open trustee position in the Tribune Township website, and I would think web or Facebook. What was the one the other one you used? You put something up, we got, oh, we put.
that was for employees, or what?
It was employees, and it was Michigan Works.
I don't see a reason why we couldn't use them as well. There's no charge to do it. It's beneficial everywhere for that.
Yeah.
Page.
Yeah. Okay. So we go to, in the Tribune, the Township website, Facebook, and Michigan Works.
And letters of interest.
Gotta have letters of interest, and at the same time, you also have to go online and pick up an application. So you submit both, not just a letter of interest. And then of the fact that we want to get a new trustee as soon as possible.
So let's set a deadline to it, that will be reviewed by, if our next meeting is in 2 weeks, and we can't get this into the paper until next week,
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
because of their deadlines.
Yes.
So we're not gonna be able to get it until next week's paper,
Right.
so
Should run it for a couple of weeks, think?
I would think for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So
So
we're
we'll put
looking
it
at,
to
October first.
October's meeting, first meeting in October?
that'll be October 15th, 14th, somewhere there,
12.
12.
12th? Well, I know since me looking then.
Okay, running for 2 weeks, October, by October
Yep.
12th.
So,
Letter in by October 12th?
Mhm.
No.
no,
No?
that's when we want to be able to read them,
Oh, I mean,
vote
get
on
it-
them. So.
Well, you
your
can get it in by
cutoff-
the 12th, and then we would be here the evening of the 12th to vote on them.
In
Exactly.
the paper,
Yeah, they can-
28th.
But don't you you would want to have time to review them and to,
So deadline the 5th, October 5th. That
Right.
gives you,
a week to review
Yeah.
them,
yeah.
so,
So you
cause
want
we're
us-
not gonna sit here if we get 30 of them and read them at the board meeting.
Yeah.
So we wanna review this by the 5th, you're saying, and
That looks like a good date.
action on the 12th?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, got it. Okay. Everybody happy with that? I got it on.
Lost me a little bit.
Can you
there.
require a background check on them?
I don't think so.
The rest of us that got put here didn't, I mean, I didn't have to have one, I don't think, unless you did
Probably
one on
should
me.
have.
Well, they
I won't
do
pay
it
for
whether you
it.
like it or not when you're running,
You can do it, but I paid for it.
yeah. And this is only to finish out the term, and the term means that when there's the next available vote here in Briley Township, that we have to put that person on the ballot to be,
Next
if they wanna run.
You got time to put them on the ballot in November?
Not this November.
Nah. No, I think everything that's on the ballot probably, I think the ballot's probably almost made by now.
They've,
How long was her term?
until the end of our term,
It wouldn't be till
4 years,
24.
but like what Phil just said, the next available vote, or the next election,
Oh,
you would have to be on that election.
so
So
the
this is a
person you're
temporary
appointing
one.
doesn't finish out her term?
No,
Okay.
if there's availability to vote.
If there's a vote, if there's an election in between, now and the end of her term, it has to go on that.
Okay,
It cannot go on November because November's ballot has already been.
right.
So basically, next year, if there's an election,
yeah.
it goes on that.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question about the assessors. Is that gonna be part of something that's gonna be back here instead of being in Rogers City?
Not to my knowledge, we have a contract with them.
So they do 5 counties, and it's really a problem, dealing with them, it really is.
How do you know that?
So, my question is, why can't we do our own?
We used to.
We don't have a
Not
qualified,
qualified.
we don't have a qualified assessor. That
What
guy's
would it
got,
take to get a qualified assessor?
Lots of
Uh,
schoolwork.
Can
A
I
lot of
just make a
money.
point of order? Right now, we need to
That's okay.
finish this with
That we do.
trustee
Sorry,
Banks
sorry,
Okay.
I just had a
and go on
question
to the next.
we'll come up
Alright.
with public comment,
There's,
we'll
right,
discuss
there's
it.
public
Okay.
comment in a few
Oh,
minutes.
okay,
So we
sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion. Who made the motion on this? I think
You
I
made the
did.
motion.
And who seconds the motion?
I will.
Vanessa. We need to have again another roll call vote. Supervisor Warner,
Yes.
Clerk Moore, yes. Trustee White,
Yes.
Treasurer Warner,
Yes.
motion passes 4-0. Okay.
Okay. Next on our new business is tiny homes.
Sounds like a song.
Well, we have some issues going on right now. I've asked the planning commission to look into this. Statewide, tiny homes are a problem, as are the next item on the agenda, the short-term rentals. They've been in problems in the entire state. Most people don't know how to work with them. We had to think about tiny homes, I guess, that was passed way back when. It defined what a tiny home is. with exception. It gives you the size of it, as to how big it can be and how small it can be. There's a gap in there from 250, I think it is, up to 500 or something. And then there's the actual one that we use here, which is 720, Ken, or 750 square feet?
I think it's 750.
Yeah, 750 square feet, which is defined basically as a single household. The problem is with tiny homes, people are starting to go to the Amish and other sources in order to get a tiny home. They're calling it a shed. They order it as a shed. They bring it here as a shed. And now, all of a sudden, they want to make it a residence or rent it out. Not legal. It does not have plumbing. It has no plumbing in it. Heating would be a problem in those, I think. Plumbing is the biggest issue. And once you have plumbing in there, it's no longer a shed. You have to apply for occupancy. These people are putting them up, but they're not applying for any occupancy. And then they rent them out for an amount of money. That is just being done on their own. It's being on property that they do own. They're not zoned for tiny homes. It could destroy people's, and probably will in most cases, destroy people's valuation in their property. And we're having people put them up totally in wrong places. There's one out here on Crooked Lake that I'm aware of, and most of the board members are also aware of at this point. I won't name the street, but an individual has a property, and they put 3 of these little things out there. These are not the Amish, these are, I think, built by the owner. They're getting $125 a night for these things on their property. They have a porta potty as their outdoor john, and they're getting away with it. That's how bad it's gotten. People realize the dollar before they look at how it affects the community. It's a bad, bad thing. I think there are a place for tiny homes in the community. And that and the next item on the agenda, the short-term rental, is the other issue. Sort of, if you don't mind, Ken, just put them together.
Yeah.
We're not voting on anything. This is just for the board's information. And the short-term rental is basically the Airbnb or the Verbos or whatever they're working with. There are several of them out there that allow them to rent on a national level to anyone that wants to rent it, no matter where they come from or for whatever purpose they want to use it for. There's problems there with traffic on some of them because they go right through residential. There are problems with a lot of parties that create a lot of noise in the middle of the night, and sometimes worse. Destruction of property, which is also happening. And that's happening on short-term rentals and also with, not so much with the tiny homes. They're not doing that. It's not destructive, but the other is. And again, it destroys the property values around it, and it creates problems. When I look at these, and they're making money off a commercial project, and they, as Airbnb and Verbo and et cetera, and the tiny homes that are being rented out, all say in there that it's commercial. It's commercial. Are they paying property taxes on a commercial property? No. Is it generally in a residential area? Yes. Another thing that comes up is the tiny homes and the Airbnbs. You got that problem to deal with, but there's another one there. So it's property taxes, relationship in the community.
They're being taxed at a residential rate,
They are, which is
which
not,
is
because
sure.
most of them are not reporting.
Where did you come up with this term of tiny homes? Why do we have such a classification?
Well, that's my question in general, Craig, and they're tiny homes by definition, all across the United States, that's what they call them. Some of them are actually mobile and have wheels on them, so they can just put them on the back of the truck and haul them away. So they become portable, but most of the ones we see here are not that way. They're actually built, some not on a pad, some on a pad. They're all there's no real definition as to what needs to be done in order to have a tiny home, as to how it should be put up. Does it need does it need a slab, does it need an underpinning?
But I don't understand why we have the classification of a tiny home.
Well, because it exists.
I mean, why is it up to the government to dictate how big a home I have to have?
Well, yeah, I agree with that 100%. It shouldn't be, but it is, unfortunately. And the next one's even worse, and that being the Airbnbs. The legislature has basically, if they passed the law that they're looking at right now, taken over our ability to control our own land and our own township. They want to tell us that you can have Airbnbs and verbos and so on and so forth, and that the township has no way to prevent them to be there. And that's what the legislation has been going on, and this is on the, I don't know, 10th reading or something. It looks like it's inevitable it's gonna happen. It's a matter of coming up with definition and allowing it to happen. So they're taking away home rule. We don't have anything to say about this, except if you want to go down and address the legislature. We have no recourse, because it says right in there that we can't do it. So we have to have a way to legalize or not legalize these things, and to say if we do legalize them, where can they be? It's gotten to the point where the biggest issue we got, guys, is, and we all know this, affordable housing. It's not here. Every time somebody buys up a house, turns it into an Airbnb, they took it off the market for somebody that needs a house. The people around here can't pay $125 a night and go to work and try to make a living in Briley Township or other townships. So I gotta look at housing. Housing is a huge issue, and this is not the way to do it unless you had something that was set up specifically for that, for housing, for seniors and or people below the poverty line that would like a house, or people that come up in the winter and they have no place for anybody to live, homeless people. None of this has been addressed in this township at all. And needs to be before we allow people to make money off the backs of people that have nowhere to live. It's not right. Yes.
Didn't you say that they were all said that they were commercial?
Yes. So
Wouldn't that have to be rezoned from a residential house to a commercial property?
Well, that's part of the problem. I would like to say that, but I don't know that they're going to do that. The state, right, if they write the legislation, I don't know what the heck it says right now. I've lost track of it.
So the state can say, no matter what it's zoned, they can rent it out?
You could say that. And that's why a lot of people are selling motels to Airbnbs.
So the shed I got out there on Mouch Road, you're gonna classify that as a tiny home now? Or-
Are you
Nope,
living
as
in
of
it?
right now, it's a shed until you start living in it.
Yep.
It is a shed until you put somebody in charge rent, and then you gotta have plumbing.
So what do you call living in there? I can go out there and stay for a week or two. I don't have a problem with that. You know, I got electric, I got a refrigerator, a stove, and a flat screen TV. I'm good to go.
I can't answer
I
that.
refer
The
to it
building
as a deer
inspector does
blind,
that.
but you know.
Yeah.
As long as the building inspector gives you an occupancy right, then you have a right to live in it.
Zoning.
Yeah.
That's some of the stuff that we wanted to talk about tonight, was so that the zoning knows that we're looking into it, and they can also look into it and
How long
start
ago,
things.
how long ago was, the zoning written that said it has to be 720 square feet or more?
You know, I think a lot of it was back in the mobile home days,
That's what I'm thinking.
that it,
Long time.
you know, because they wanted you to either have at least a double wide or something. I think it was, you know, in the 70s and stuff like that,
Yeah.
back in the mobile home days, and for whatever reason, that magic 750 number to get over that hump, all of a sudden now you couldn't put a single wide in. And I thought it was 750, and
We went through this a few years ago with Gordy. in the planning commission. Can't remember exactly when, but he determined the number of square footage and all that, and stipulations for the tiny homes.
Yeah,
Right.
that was actually set up, like Ken said, because of the mobile home issue.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in the seventies. This was just a few years ago.
Right, and then I thought
No,
they did kinda kick something around about the tiny houses and
Yep.
whether or not we were gonna allow them and everything
Right.
else. And part of it is, okay, if you stood here and said, no, we ain't gonna allow them. But you put a shed up,
Yeah,
now your shed becomes a tiny home. You know,
It's a deer
if you're
blind.
living in it, if, maybe that's how we should judge it, is how big the flat screen is, whether or not it's truly a tiny home.
No, it's a deer blind, man.
It's a deer
Can you
blind.
hunt that with all the houses that are right there?
Hmm?
Can you hunt that property with all the houses?
Yeah, I got almost 10 acres there.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that big a piece.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
But-
don't you have to have a indoor potty? Something?
well, I mean, it's a tough classification if you're gonna do that, because some of the cottages that are still selling don't have indoor plumbing in them yet. You know, some of the old cottages that are still around, there's probably a few, well, on McCormick Lake Road or something that, you know, don't have a bath.
Yeah,
So yeah, we need to address it, I mean, we need to, it needs to be looked into, and the planning commission needs to be a part of it, and
I don't think
it's
we
coming,
should get rid
it
of
don't
them.
look like it's slowing down.
No.
I don't think we should. Tiny homes, I think, like Briley reaches all the way out to Rouse Road. Rouse Road, there's very few houses, but there is one where they put a shed, or I don't even know what they did, but it cleaned that lot up. That lot looked terrible for the last 20 years, or more. I think if this goes to the planning commission, I think you guys need to, depending on where it's at. If you're sitting in the middle of the woods on 50 acres and you're dead center, what's the problem?
With 1 or 10?
Doesn't matter, it's
Yeah,
your property.
well,
If
we
you're in the
just-
middle of the woods,
Well,
what's
if
it
you
matter?
got 10, then you're
Yeah.
most likely a commercial operation.
It needs to be talked about for sure, I mean, it just,
If you're a
and
big family.
there should be some stipulations there of, you
I'm
know,
from
whether or not, what kind of heat, you know, running water, electric, you know, all this stuff should go in front of the building inspector. And then even for, you know, a builder that's putting up a garage, because this happened years ago, is you would put up a garage, and then before you know it, it had indoor plumbing in it, and it's a house. You know, so, but these tiny or the sheds that are being put up don't have footings under them, don't have rat walls, don't have, I mean, so that you need something in there.
you need code.
You need a code.
Yep, that's exactly
Oh,
what we need.
absolutely.
Once we get the ordinances in, that's the most important thing we should do. I personally, I mean, this has to go to planning. It absolutely has to go to
Yeah.
planning. This is not our decision. They need to do the research on it. They need to set up the rules that'll work for this township and this community.
I have a question.
Once that's done, then we can take a look at it and then see. And